Do you remember the chillness of the autumn air as you ran back home from the school bus to put on your Halloween costume to go trick-or-treating with your friends? Or that one bite of food that suddenly reminds you of grandma's cooking, a taste that can remind you of someone you once loved and had the privilege to be loved by? That same feeling, I think, is a fundamental force driving our politics?
The events in Washington have taken a violent anti-Muslim turn.
Putin has an obsessive interest in history. It's what led him to invade Ukraine.
China's leader Xi Jinping at a speech to mark 100 years since the founding of the ruling Communist Party.
Oh, nostalgia, the feeling that things were better in the past. We all feel it from time to time, and that's okay. What's not okay is that kids today have to be nostalgic for these current times. I mean, could you imagine having to look at a meme of Skibbity Toilet and thinking, man, those were the days. Things were better then. These kids are going to one day look back to today's presidential debates and think, we used to be a proper country. We used to have standards. Now, nostalgia can impact our lives in interesting ways. Like, here's a fun fact. Growing up, if it was more likely to rain on July 4th wherever you live for factors completely outside of your control, so it's less likely that you grew up celebrating that patriotic display of star-spangled banners and fireworks, then growing up, you were more likely to vote for a Democrat. And that may seem unlikely, but researchers found that all other factors controlled for, this is true. The evidence is unscrutinizable and we see it all across the country. And that's true, then what other ways is our nostalgia impacting our politics today? We're all nostalgic for things. Like, I took a trip to Italy a few years ago that I'm nostalgic for, and Italy's probably the most beautiful place on earth. My favorite thing about Italy, outside of the beautiful cathedrals and lakes and great food, is the fact that Italians had all that and still chose New Jersey. I also grew up in upstate New York, which meant that as a child, I would visit New York City all the time and just be completely enchanted by this magical place. And maybe that's why growing up, I decided to live here. So while we investigate the role of nostalgia in our politics, I'm gonna recreate these 3 pictures of me as a kid in New York City to get my mom's reaction to them. So I think we have to go to Times Square first. But here's a fun fact. Did you know 58% of Americans think that life was better 50 years ago compared to today? It's kind of weird. All right, let's get going. All right, so it's kind of weird that 58% of Americans say that life was better 50 years ago because by every observable metric that we have, life is way better today than it was then. Inflation adjusted and cost of living adjusted, everybody in America has way more money today than they did 50 years ago. People no longer die of diseases like polio or measles, and now they live on average 7 to 8 years longer. And if you watch our 4 Reasons the World is Getting Better video, you'll know that in the 70s, about 636,000 tons of oil was getting spilled into the ocean every year. And in 2016, only 6,000 tons were spilled. It's bad, but it's going in the right direction. Globally, the extreme poverty rate has fallen from 33% to just 8% today. In America, child mortality rates fell from 26 babies dying per 1,000 to just 7. Inflation in the 70s averaged 6.8% a year, and over the last 10 years, it was just 2.4%. And recessions in the 20th century used to be way longer than they are now. Basically, the nostalgia that Americans have for the past is not grounded in data at all. Saying life was better 50 years ago is like saying Taylor Swift is an overrated artist. You can say whatever you want, but it's not true, okay? She's actually underrated. I swear to God, she's an underrated artist. Towards Her Poets Department is a great album. It's a phenomenal album. She should have won 10 Grammys. She should have won 20. They said they're called One Direction. This building right here, right there, is that building. The lip coming off here is that right there. Right there, those lips. So let's try to do it. All right, now we're going to Wall Street. Cold metal performance. Are you falling?
F you, bro. F you. I'm carrying too many things. Oh my God.
So this is Wall Street, that's Charles Bull, that's me, my mom, my younger brother, that's my mom's cousin, and that's Detroit people over there. The problem is that there's a huge line. So we're gonna go wait in line. We gotta get the angle down. I'm excited to see how my mom reacts to that one. So here's this really weird thing. Researchers have found that your brain edits memories the exact same way Kim Kardashian edits her Instagram pictures, making the negative smaller and the positives way bigger. Like way bigger. This is called fading affective bias, or rosy retrospection. And a professor of psychology at Harvard, David Schachter, found that negative memories in your brain literally fade away at a faster rate. And the way the Warwick Business School studied this is they would ask people to rate a holiday party as soon as it happened, and then rate it again after some time had passed. And what they found is nearly everybody said the holiday party was way better in hindsight. And here's another thing. Researchers have found that your brain enhances negative experiences in the current moment while dampening good experiences. These are all survival instincts we've inherited from our ancient past, so that we're aware of any threats in our surroundings. But if you feel like you're just getting caught up in the day-to-day stress of life and not enjoying the little things enough, you're not alone. I'm always telling my girlfriend to enjoy the little things way more. What do you mean we can't air that joke? It's not just you, our brains are literally engineered to make the past seem like it was better than it was. And we call this feeling nostalgia, and it makes us feel warm inside. Literally, it's so powerful, it literally makes your body temperature go up. So here's my main point. Nostalgia isn't just this thing we experience every now and then when you hear that one song or smell that one smell. No, it's literally how you experience every moment of your life, how you contextualize the past, how you experience your entire life. It affects you every moment that you live.
You want to take a picture with the bull's balls?
Huh?
With the bull's balls.
No, I'm not gonna take a picture with the bull's balls. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. There's nothing you can say.
For the final picture, I'm gonna do the impossible. Talk to a lady. Lady Liberty, that is.
Wood. I swear to God, last time I was here, I'm pretty sure there was 2 towers. Statue of Liberty.
So,
We have to go further left.
yeah, probably.
Statue of Liberty, the second best thing the French gave us since, the first best thing the French gave us. Here's something kind of interesting. Researchers went to Turkey and they got 2 random samples of voters. These were all kinds of different people.
They took one group and had them read a bunch of texts about the glory days of the Ottoman Empire, and the other group had to read nothing.
Both groups had to take a test. It's called the Populism Index. It asks questions like, is the difference between the people and the elites bigger or smaller than the difference between different kinds of people? And it's basically a way to assess how likely someone is to vote for populist policies or candidates. And what they found is that of the 2 random groups, the group that had just read these nostalgic texts about the Ottoman Empire was suddenly more likely to support populism. You don't have to look far at all to find that nostalgia is a very powerful political force. Europe is riddled with empires that would constantly talk about how they were the successor to the ancient Roman Empire. Napoleon went as far to call himself the same title that Roman leaders would use, emperor. But even the ancient Romans were captured by nostalgia. You could go into any Roman aristocrat's home and what you'd find is a cupboard full of wax masks of all of their ancestors. All the children had to memorize anything that their ancestors had done. Each generation was taught to venerate 8 to 9, 10 generations back. So much so that a man named Brutus betrayed his best friend because family reminded him that countless generations ago, another man named Lucius Junius Brutus had ended the Roman monarchs and started the Roman Republic. And then that obligation, that same ancestral obligation, fell on Brutus and resulted in him killing his best friend, Julius Caesar. Even for Brutus, the glory days of ancient Rome were in an even more ancient time, and he saw it as his responsibility to restore it to that. But look, you can't just keep going further back forever. It doesn't always get better. I mean, do you remember the time when Adam from the hit classic Adam and Eve found that he was gonna be a grandpa? His son came to him being like, hey dad, good news, you're gonna be a grandfather. And Adam was happy for like 5 seconds, and then he was like, your sister? And then his son was like, no dad, I don't have any sisters. And then Adam was happy again, and then he was like, Eve? Today, strongman leaders are always referencing nostalgia. China's President Xi Jinping on the 100th anniversary of the CCP gave arguably one of the most important speeches of his life. And of all the things he could talk about, he talked about China's century of humiliation, talking about restoring China to its former glory. Russia's President Vladimir Putin is always talking about how he's the last defender of Christianity. He's always giving speeches referencing that now, because of him, teens are going back to church. And he cites 13th century borders and medieval countries to justify his invasion of Ukraine. And the thing is, these leaders will always find a convenient point in history where things were the way they want them to be now. But these leaders, when they cite history, are pretty much always lying to you. Just like your friend who says he can't text you back because he's so bad at using his phone. He's not the only person on earth that can go 36 hours without using their phone. No, he just hates you. For Americans, nostalgia is equally as seductive. I mean, the campaign slogan, "Let's make America great again," created an iconic American president, Ronald Reagan.
Only one man has the proven experience we need. Ronald Reagan for president.
Let's make America great again.
And studies show that those who experience a higher level of national nostalgia today in America are more likely to vote for the person using that same campaign slogan. And what's crazy is Americans today are nostalgic for 40 to 50 years ago, and 40 to 50 years ago, they were nostalgic for the days before them, and the whole time the world has been getting so much better for so many people, but you'll never hear anyone campaign on that. What's up, man? Shreyas. Jaden, nice to meet you, man. What's good? Hell yeah, bro. John, Shreyas, nice to meet you, man. What's up, bro? What's up? Shreyas, what's your name?
Shreyas?
Yeah.
Ernie,
nice to meet you, man. What's your name? Ryan?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. What's your name?
Tanya.
Tanya?
Yeah. Do you
Awesome.
have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so it's a news YouTube channel.
I feel like I've seen one of your videos.
It's very unlikely. This is us. So we do the news.
No, I watched it. I watched
You
your
seen
video.
this?
I saw. I investigated.
Whoa, that's
how
crazy.
you
She's
watched
seen
it.
college video.
Because one of my friends posted it on their story.
Really? What is something you're nostalgic for?
Like I would say.
Honestly, classic Cartoon Network shows.
Oh yeah?
I mean,
Go on.
a lot of them, man. Ed, Ed, Nettie, Courage the Cowardly Dog. There's a lot of them, you know. That's a part of the world that my brother will not be able to see, and he's 12.
Yeah.
He's never gonna grow up in a world where he wakes up on grandma's couch and Boomerang is on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that world is dead.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
My grandma had this crib. I remember exactly. I would sleep on the 3rd floor, and I would wake up every morning and hear the birds in the backyard. And I don't know, like every time I hear birds, it's on a Saturday morning. It gotta be a Saturday morning. I don't know. It just made me think back to the crib.
Do you remember those like really big in PE class, like how they would have like this huge like big like sheet that people would put over their
Oh,
heads?
the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I miss that. Like I
dome.
genuinely miss
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I miss
yeah.
the silly bands.
Yeah.
Like bring them back,
Yes.
please.
We had Mighty Beans.
Oh my god.
Silly bands and Mighty Beans.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they got banned.
I miss online games being more toxic. I think we've catered it down a little bit too much. Honestly, I miss having my mom speaking Spanish and then someone in the lobby calling me a slur. I think
my God.
it's a motivating factor that we just don't get anymore.
A lot of old school artists, Luther Vandross, George Michael, Prince, Michael Jackson, Temptations, Phil Collins, yeah.
Whenever I am having like a difficult day, I kind of think back to like all those memories, and I think about how one day like my kids will hopefully have similar memories like that, and like I'll be able to kind of guide them through that, and I'll get to relive it again, and it's like, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think nostalgia is a beautiful thing, but in our politics, we need more than rosy goggles when we look at the past. We also need rosy goggles when we look at the future. What we need is more optimism, and optimism is always misconstrued as naivety. It's the pessimists who get all the airtime, the ones who always see a recession brewing around the corner, or that this crisis is the one that's gonna knock us down. They're the ones that get us sound smart and intellectual all the time. In 1992, US Senator Paul Tsongas campaigned for president, saying the Cold War is over and Germany and Japan have won. Whenever a crisis would come, whether the dot-com bubble, 9/11, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID-19, the naysayers would come from the sidelines to tell us that this crisis was the one that was finally gonna put America on its knees. But at the end, it was the optimists who looked at every crisis and said America will come back from this stronger and better than it was before, that ended up getting it right every single time. But no one wanted to listen to them because that sounds like a naive perspective to have. See, optimism is not just hopefulness for the sake of it. It's not just believing the world will get better because it's better than believing the world's gonna get worse. No. Optimism is the only ideology with a 100% success rate. Whether it's healthcare or technology or the economy or global poverty or women's rights or all sorts of other human rights, the world is profoundly better today than it's ever been before. And you know what? During all those crises, it was the optimists that believed in the future enough to go and actually build it. And they built the world that the pessimists and the naysayers get to come, sit in, and complain about. In the long run, it's the optimists who've always been right. Food for thought. This is what we're doing. You remember sending me these 3 pictures? Childhood pictures? Okay. First of all, it's my mom's birthday. So everybody say happy birthday in the comments. Tell them to say that.
Say happy birthday.
Okay, good. Very good. You remember this picture? New York City?
Yeah, same. Oh.
When we created it.
This is the new one.
Yeah.
This picture is from maybe 2009, 10.
Okay, so the bull is here. There's scaffolding here, and this same sign is still there. Exact same.
Yeah.
All right, last one. I had this ugly, you guys gave me the ugliest haircuts back then. Like, you literally, this is why none of the girls like me. It's your fault.
We were too young to be liked. to 5 girls, that's okay.
Anyways, next.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, any thoughts?
So New York City didn't change past 15 years. It's the same.
No need to start crying. It's not that emotional. Don't cry. Can you just start crying for the camera? Like,
No.
just so it's really,
No.
you're ruining my video.